You're watching Major League Baseball's virtual network. I'm Nicholas Callis. These are your game recaps, standing updates, and league leaders from Tuesday, May the 12th, 2020. The Cleveland Indians lost to the Baltimore Orioles. Final score of this game was 1-0. Runs came at a premium, but the Orioles were able to score early and keep their one-run lead all throughout. Asher Wojciechowski got his sixth win of the season. Adam Plutko got the loss, and Michael Givens is now at 14 saves on the season. The New York Yankees beat the Tampa Bay Rays. Final score of this game was 4-3. Luis Cessa got the win. Banda got the loss, and Aroldis Chapman now has 8 saves on the season. This game went into the 10th inning. The Rays made a comeback in the bottom of the 8th to force extras, but then the Yankees scored what was the winning run in the top of the 10th. AL Central baseball game here between the Detroit Tigers and the Minnesota Twins. The Tigers won by a final score of 3-0. Jordan Zimmerman got the win, and Jake Odorizzi got the loss. The Toronto Blue Jays and Texas Rangers played each other. The Rangers struck for 3 runs in the first inning, tacked on an extra one in the second, and won 4-2. Mike Minor got the win, Chase Anderson got the loss, and Jose Leclerc got his 10th save of the season. American League West baseball here between the Oakland Athletics and the Seattle Mariners. The Athletics won by a final score of 7-4. Matt Chapman homered twice in this game. Mike Fiers got the win, Taijuan Walker got the loss, and Liam Hendricks now has 16 saves on the season. The Washington Nationals played the Los Angeles Angels in this interleague baseball game, and the Nats won 9-8, scoring the winning run in the 8th inning. Offense was on display in this one. The Nats got 9 runs on 15 hits, and the Angels got 8 runs on 12 hits. Wander Suero got the win, Keenan Middleton got the loss, and Sean Doolittle now has 15 saves on the season. The Kansas City Royals played the Houston Astros. Final score of this game was 4-3 in favor of the Royals. And that does not help the Astros because the AL West leading Athletics won today. Each team got 10 hits in this one. The Royals just got one more than the Astros, scored the go-ahead run in the 9th and ended up winning. Ian Kennedy got the save, his 5th of the season. The Boston Red Sox played the Atlanta Braves in this interleague baseball game. The Braves won by a score of 4-2. Mike Fultonavich got the win, Martin Perez got the loss, and Will Smith now has 13 saves on the season. The Dodgers and Phillies played each other, and the Phillies extinguished the Dodgers' hot streak with this win. Aaron Nola got the win on the mound, Alex Wood got the loss. Hector Neris now has 11 saves on the season. Anytime a team scored, they did not score more than 1 run in a single inning, and the Phillies scored in 4 different innings to pull out the win. NL Central baseball here between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pirates were trailing going into the 9th inning, but scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th to walk it off. Gregory Polanco got the winning hit. Chris Stratton got the win out of the bullpen, and Giovanni Gallegos blew the save and earned the loss in this one. The Miami Marlins and Cincinnati Reds played each other, and the Reds came out early scoring and ended up winning by a large margin. Final score of this game was 9-3. Sonny Gray got the win, and Pablo Lopez got the loss. One of the longest games of the season so far. The Brewers and the Cubs played each other in a game that lasted nearly 3 hours, extended into the 15th inning. The Cubs, early in extra innings, got a leadoff triple from Javier Baez, but he wasn't able to come around and score, and so you saw that many more scoreless extra innings. But the Brewers finally broke the 7-7 tie in the 15th, scored a run, made it 8-7, and eventually won the ball game by keeping the Cubs scoreless in the bottom of the 15th. Corey Knebel got the win, and Rowan Wick got the loss. The New York Mets played the Arizona Diamondbacks. Final score of this game was 4-3, and the game took 10 innings to complete. It was tied at 2 going into the 10th. The Mets scored a run, made it 3-2, but then the Diamondbacks tied it up and won it in extra innings, won by a final score of 4-3. Hector Rondon got the win, and Edwin Diaz blew a save and got the loss. The Giants and Rockies played each other in this NL West matchup, and the Rockies won by a final score of 4-2. The Giants have now lost 11 in a row. The Rockies struck first in the 3rd, scored 2. The Giants tied it up in the 8th with 2 runs of their own. And then the Rockies walked it off with a home run in the bottom of the 9th, got 2 runs, and won the ball game. Carlos Estevez got the win, and Garcia got the loss. Interleague play here between the Chicago White Sox and the San Diego Padres, and now the Padres themselves are on a losing streak. Final score of this game 6-3 in favor of the Sox. Lucas Giolito 6-1 on the season. Garrett Richards is now 4-3, and Alex Colome picked up the save. He has 13 now on the year. The White Sox score all 6 of their runs in the 5th inning, and the Padres spread their runs out to the 1st and 5th innings, but could not score as many as 6 and lost the ball game. Taking a look at standings now, starting in the American League East, the New York Yankees are 25-17 after beating the Rays today. They're still in first place, trailed by 2 games by the Orioles. 23-19 is the Orioles record. They're on a 2-game winning streak after beating the Indians. The Tampa Bay Rays are 23-21. They lost today to the Yankees. They're 3 games out of the division lead. The Toronto Blue Jays are 19-23. They're 6 games back of the division. And the Red Sox are 19-24. They're 6.5 games back of the division. In the American League Central, the Chicago White Sox still leading this division. They're on a 7-game winning streak after beating the Padres today. They're 29-13. The Twins are 26-16 in second place, 3 games back of the division after losing today. The Cleveland Indians are 25-20. They're 5.5 games back. They've lost 2 straight now to the Orioles. The Tigers are 15-27. They're 14 games back of the division. And the Kansas City Royals have won 2 consecutive games, but they've still lost 7 of their last 10. They're 12-30, 17 games back of the White Sox for the AL Central lead. In the AL West, the Oakland Athletics are on a 5-game winning streak now. They're 26-17, still leading this division. The Astros are falling behind now after losing 2 straight. They're 24-19, 2 games back of the division. The Los Angeles Angels are 18-23. They're 7 games back of the division. The Texas Rangers 18-24, 7.5 games back. And the Seattle Mariners have lost 6 in a row. They've lost 8 of their last 10. They're 17-27, 9.5 games back of the division lead. In the National League, the Washington Nationals are 26-15. They still lead this division. The Phillies on a hot streak now. They've won 5 in a row. They've won 8 of their last 10. They're 23-18 and 3 games back of the Nationals. The Atlanta Braves are 22-21. They've won 4 in a row. They've won 6 of their last 10 games, and they're 5 games back of the division. Tied with the Marlins for 3rd place. The Marlins also 22-21. They're 5 games back of the division lead. And the New York Mets are 17-25. They're 9.5 games back of the Nationals. In the NL Central, the Milwaukee Brewers and St. Louis Cardinals are still tied for the division lead. The Brewers won today in a 15-inning affair with the Cubs, and the Cardinals lost. They're 22-21 as well as the Brewers are. The Cubs trail by a game. The Cubs lost to the Brewers today. They're 21-22, still a game back of the division lead. The Cincinnati Reds won today. They're 19-23. They're 2.5 games back. And the Pittsburgh Pirates snapped a losing streak. They're 15-26 after walking it off today against the Cardinals. And they're 6 games back of the division lead. In the National League West, the Los Angeles Dodgers are 27-13, though they lost today. That ended their winning streak, but they're still at the top of this division. The Arizona Diamondbacks are coming in hot now. They have tied the Padres for 2nd place in this division. They're 23-19, 5 games back in the division. They've won 7 in a row and 8 of their last 10. The San Diego Padres have hit a cold spell here in the middle of May. They're 23-19, also 5 games out of the division, but they've lost 8 in a row, and they've lost 8 of their last 10 ball games. The San Francisco Giants have extended their losing streak to 11 games after losing today. They're 17-25, 11 games back of the division. And the team that's playing them in a series right now is the Colorado Rockies. And they are 16-25, and they're just a half game behind the Giants. They're 11.5 games back of the division lead. And we'll take a look at league leaders now, starting with batting average leaders in the American League. Miguel Cabrera, best with a .381 average. Michael Brantley has snuck his way to second best with a .376 batting average. And Chris Davis rounds out the top 3. He has a .372 batting average. In the National League, David Dahl leads the NL with a .366 batting average. Adam Eaton has a .360, and Ronald Acuna Jr. has fell to 3rd place. He has a .351 batting average, and he's trailed closely by Corey Seager, who has a .348, good for 4th best. Hits leaders in the American League. Jose Abreu has 64 hits. That leads the American League. Miguel Andujar, one behind him with 63. Chris Davis and Miguel Cabrera each have 61. They're tied for third best. And DJ LeMahieu, the only other American League hitter with 60 or more hits on the season so far. He's at exactly 60, good for fifth best. In the National League, Jonathan Villar, the only one with 60 hits. Paul Goldschmidt and Ronald Acuna Jr., the next best. They each have 53. Then you have Nolan Arenado, fourth best with 51. And Adam Eaton, the only other National League player with 50 or more. He's right at 50, good for fifth best. And bat leaders in the American League, Jose Abreu has 179. That leads the AL. And on the National League side, Jonathan Villar has 178. Doubles leaders in the American League, Miguel Andujar now at 18 doubles. He leads all AL players. Jose Iglesias, Marcus Semien, and Anthony Rendon all tied for second best with 16. In the National League, Jonathan Villar has 18. He's trailed by Christian Yelich and Trey Turner, who are second best with 16. Triples leaders in the American League, Jose Altuve has 5. He's been the leader in this category for a while. He's trailed by 2 to Oscar Mercado, Whit Merrifield, and Adalberto Mondesi. They all have 3. They're all tied for second best. In the National League, Chris Bryant has matched Jonathan Villar for his triple total. Chris Bryant now at 5, as is Jonathan Villar. They're both tied for the league best. Trey Turner third best with 4, and there's a long list with 3 and an even longer list with 2. Home run leaders in the American League. Chris Davis has 18. He's trailed by 1 to Josh Donaldson, who has 17. And Matt Olson, Chris Davis' teammate, rounds out the top 3 with 15. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. has 16. That leads all NL players. Max Muncy, 2 behind him with 14. And Paul Goldschmidt rounds out the top 3. He has 13. RBI leaders in the American League. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. has 45. That still leads the AL. Austin Meadows has 42, 3 behind Gurriel Jr. And Chris Davis, third best with 39. In the National League, Paul Goldschmidt on the brink of 40. He has 39. He leads the National League. Christian Yelich has 32, and Nolan Arenado and Max Muncy round out the top 3. They're tied for third with 31 RBIs. Runs scored leaders in the American League. Yohan Moncada has 35. Rafael Devers and Jose Abreu tied for second best with 34 runs scored so far this season. In the National League, Trey Turner and Ronald Acuna Jr. at the top of this category. They're tied for first with 36. Christian Yelich, third best with 32. Stolen base leaders in the American League. There are now 3 tied for the league best. Adalberto Mondesi, D. Gordon, and Mike Trout all tied with 9. Shin-Soo Choo, the next best. He has 8 stolen bases, and that's good for fourth in the AL. In the National League, Starling Marte is a thief. He has 19 stolen bases. That leads the National League. That leads all of baseball, for that matter. He's on the brink of 20. Trey Turner, 8 behind Starling Marte, second best with 11. And then Ronald Acuna Jr., Tim LeCastro, and Jonathan Villar, good for third best. Altogether, they each have 10. Walks leaders in the American League. Alex Bregman tops this category with 28. In the National League, Rhys Hoskins, 33 walks. The next best in the National League belongs to 2 players, Brandon Belt and Ronald Acuna Jr. They each have 28. On-base percentage leaders in the American League. Miguel Cabrera, 447 on-base percentage, trailed by 3 points to Mike Trout, who has a 444, and Bregman rounds up the top 3 with a 443 on-base percentage. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. has a 450. That still leads by a significant margin. Andrew McCutchen, the next best, with a 429 on-base percentage. And the Braves shortstop Dansby Swanson has a 424 OBP. He's third best in the NL. Slugging percentage leaders in the American League. Chris Davis, 768. That's good for the league best. Mike Trout has gotten over 700. He's at a 706 slugging percentage, good for second best. Josh Donaldson, close to 700. He's at a 699 slugging percentage. That rounds out the top 3 in the AL. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. has a 762 slugging percentage, good for the league best. Christian Yelich, the only other NL player with an over 700 slugging percentage. He's at 711. And Corey Seager, third best with a 696 slugging percentage. On-base percentage plus slugging percentage leaders in the American League. Chris Davis and Mike Trout still toward the top of this category. Josh Donaldson, third best, with a 1.097. In the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr., 1.212. That leads the NL. Christian Yelich, second best, and Corey Seager is in the top 3. Moving on to pitcher statistics. Wins leaders in the American League. Asher Wojciechowski and Lucas Giolito tied for the league best. They each have 6 wins. Everybody else you see there has 5. Those are some former leaders. They just haven't had the opportunity to get a 6th win yet. In the National League, Walker Buehler has 6 wins. That still tops the league, and there's a long list of players who have 5. Losses leaders in the American League, those without a loss yet this season: Dylan Bundy, Asher Wojciechowski, Mike Minor, Reynaldo Lopez, and Kenta Maeda among American League pitchers, all with a 0 in the loss column. In the National League, Trevor Bauer, Carlos Martinez, and Walker Buehler, the only 3 NL pitchers left with no losses. Saves leaders in the American League, Brad Hand has 18 saves, but the Indians have lost 2 straight. He hasn't had many save opportunities recently, and he's being caught up to now. Liam Hendricks, 2 behind Brad Hand with 16 saves, and Michael Givens and Roberto Ozuna tied for third best with 14. Giovanni Gallegos, though he blew a save today, still leads the National League with 16 saves. John Doolittle, second best with 15, and Josh Hader and Kenley Jansen tied for third best with 14 saves on the season. Earned run average leaders in the American League. Zach Plesac, 1.82 earned run average. That's good for the league best. No other American League pitcher has an ERA under 2. In the National League, there are 4 pitchers with an ERA under 2. Walker Buehler, Mike Soroka, Caleb Smith, and Trevor Bauer. And they make up the top 4 in this league, led by Walker Buehler, who has a 1.32 earned run average. Home runs allowed among American League pitchers. Gio Gonzalez is in the lead. He's allowed just 2 home runs this season. There are 4 tied for second best: Brandon Bailey, Kyle Gibson, John Means, and Brad Peacock. All have given up just 3 home runs so far this season. In the National League, Garrett Richards still leads this category, and he even started today. He's still given up just 2 home runs so far this season, and there's a long list of pitchers who are second best and who are all tied with 3 home runs given up this season. Shutouts among American League pitchers. Garrett Cole and Masahiro Tanaka still top this category. They each have 2 shutouts on the season, and this American League list getting a bit bigger now. Everybody you see there has thrown at least 1 shutout on the season. In the National League, it's a much shorter list, still led by Zach Wheeler and Walker Buehler, who each have 2 shutouts this season. Strikeout leaders in the American League still belongs to Garrett Cole, who has 73 strikeouts. Lucas Giolito pitched today, got a win, and he's at 70 strikeouts now. That's good for second best in the league, and Jake Odorizzi rounds out the top 3 with 67. In the National League, Clayton Kershaw at 72, Chris Archer second best with 71, and Steven Strasburg third best with 69. Complete games thrown among American League pitchers. Garrett Cole, Masahiro Tanaka each have 2 complete games this season, and they still lead the American League. In the National League, Zach Wheeler still leading this category. He's thrown 3 complete games this season, trailed by 1 to Walker Buehler, who has 2 complete games this season, good for second best in the NL. Innings pitched leaders in the American League. Hyunjin Ryu has Garrett Cole and Shane Bieber beat out by 1/3 of an inning. He's pitched 60 2/3 innings this year. That's good for the league best, and Garrett Cole, Shane Bieber tied for second best with 60 1/3 innings pitched. In the National League, Johnny Cueto still leading this category. 59 2/3 innings pitched is his total. He's trailed by a full inning to Aaron Nola, who has 59 1/3 innings recorded, and Jacob deGrom rounds out the top 3. He has 58 2/3 innings recorded. Walks allowed among American League pitchers. Ivan Nova and Carlos Carrasco tied for the league best with 7. In the National League, Alex Wood, the only pitcher left in single digits. He has 9. Everybody else has 10 or more. Whip leaders in the American League. Zach Plesac, the only American League pitcher with a whip under 1. He's still at a .96. And in the National League, there are 3 pitchers with a whip under 1. It was 4 yesterday, but it's now down to 3. Walker Buehler, Mike Soroka, and Clayton Kershaw. They also make up the top 3 in this category. Pitching war in the American League. Carlos Carrasco, 1.5, closely trailed by Shane Bieber, who has a 1.5 as well. And then you have Charlie Morton and Garrett Cole, 3 and 4. They're each at a 1.4 WAR. In the National League, Chris Archer with the lead again. He's at a 1.9 WAR. Jacob deGrom at a 1.7, good for second best. And Yu Darvish, 1.6, is good for third best in the NL. And batting WAR leaders in the American League. Mike Trout, 3.1. He's taken a definitive lead now in the American League, and the American League hasn't seen somebody with a WAR over 3 in quite a long time, but Trout has broken that barrier. Alex Bregman and Chris Davis, second and third best. They're each at a WAR varying around 2.8. And in the National League, Ronald Acuna Jr. is still over 3. He's been over 3 for a while. He's moved up to 3.6 now. Christian Yelich, the only other National League player with a WAR at 3 or more. He's at roughly 3 even. Jonathan Villar rounds out the top 3 in the NL with a 2.7 WAR. These have been your game recaps, standing updates, and league leaders from Tuesday, May the 12th, 2020. I'm Nicholas Callis. You've been watching Major League Baseball's Virtual Network.